Okay, so today I wanted to share some stories from my past from when I was a gambling addict, and more specifically a poker player. Now, when you play poker as a job or as a career or professionally, you usually end up traveling all over the world, traveling to casinos, playing online, and meeting the type of people that are generally addicts and degenerates. And what comes out of this is that there are a tremendous amount of wild and crazy stories that I have from my past. So I figured, why not share some of them today? Now, to give you context, this was, I think, in 2011. So at the time, in terms of smartphones, I believe I had an Apple iPhone 4S, like a lot smaller smartphone. So this is the type of timeline we're talking about. But in those days, I would play poker not only online, but also in the casino as well. And over here in Toronto, there aren't really too many casinos that's close by. So I'd have to catch a bus that would take me to the casino and play. And I was such a degenerate at the time that I think I received some type of gold membership through the casino where the bus was free, or otherwise you'd have to pay like $5. Now, if you're like me and you're going to the casino 6-7 days a week, you know, paying $5 every trip is going to cut into your winnings. And so I remember this one time where I met this guy, and I always remember him as the orange juice guy. Now, what happened was, normally when I would catch a bus up to the casino, it would be early afternoon, maybe 11 a.m. or so, just before lunch. And I would end up going to the casino all day and probably all night, sometimes even until like 4 or 5 a.m. And what happens is, eventually you get used to the regulars that you see at the casino on a daily basis. And these people are usually not professional players. They're usually degenerates. Or they're people that have an exorbitant amount of money and they just want to gamble. But more likely than not, they're degenerates. And, you know, people that have problems, people that have issues, and people that are generally struggling and addicted to gambling in one form or another. And sadly for me, I always thought I was above these people, but, you know, in hindsight, I was actually one of them. You know, I was just another person that was a degenerate that was, you know, addicted to gambling. Luckily for me, I kind of treated it like a business and I was moderately successful. So more often than not, I would come home with a profit from just playing poker. Now, when I would venture off into the other casino games, you know, like blackjack or roulette, or any of those type of games where you play against a house, you know, that's a completely different story, and that's where I would lose most of my money. What's interesting is that I always remember playing with this one guy, and I want to say he looked like he was 60. But what's crazy about like playing with people that are degenerates and, you know, gamblers is that more often than not, they are a lot younger than what they appear. Because, you know, this type of lifestyle that you live, it's really harmful on your body and it takes a toll, right? The stress, and it usually is combined with alcohol and drugs and all types of crazy, chaotic things that encompasses the life of a degenerate gambler. And so I became familiar with playing with this guy, maybe late 50s, and he always wore a hat. And I would say he was, you know, like not the worst player. He wasn't like giving his money away. He would take the game seriously. But I always found him very strange because whenever I would go to the casino, I would see him there. And then I'd play for like 8, 9, 10 hours, and then I would leave and I would still see him there. And so I was like, okay, maybe he's just doing like a 12, 14-hour session. But there were some days where I would leave. I would come back the next day and he would still be there wearing the same clothes from the previous day. So we're talking about a guy who would do like 24, 30, I don't know, 36 hours at a time at the casino, like long marathon sessions where he wouldn't leave. And of course, this is terrible for your health. And I specifically remember this one day playing where he was in the one seat, which is usually the seat directly to the left of the dealer. You know, at a normal poker table, there's 9 to 10 seats. And I remember this one day he was in the one seat right beside the dealer. And he was kind of struggling, I guess you would say, for the day because his chip stack was, you know, is like really small. And normally when I'd see this guy and he'd be playing like 30 hours, he'd have like a massive amount of chips because he's been at the table so long. And this specific day, you know, his stack was dwindling. And then all of a sudden in the middle of a hand, I remember this very clearly, because I was, I think, in the 5 or 6 seat, which is directly in front of the dealer. So I could see this guy who was just in front of me, slightly to my left. So I had a clear vision of him throughout all the hands. And all of a sudden, he started, I don't know if it was convulsing or he was shaking or getting tremors or he was trembling. Something started to happen to him physically. And everyone was sort of oblivious to this. You know, I was looking around. I'm like, you guys see this guy? Like he looks like he's like tweaking out, or he's having like, I don't know, like drug withdrawal or something. No one paid him any mind. And then all of a sudden, he had a seizure at the table. And I don't know if he was epileptic or had epilepsy, or seizures were like, you know, something that he normally had. But then everyone at the table, they weren't freaking out. Like, I was the only person that was freaking out. I was like, holy shit, this guy's having a seizure in the middle of a poker table. Like, what is going on? Like, isn't someone gonna do something? And then the casino pit boss, he came over to the table and he brought this guy a glass of orange juice. I was so confused because at the time I had no clue what was going on. And apparently this guy was such a regular that he would play for so long that his blood sugar levels would drop so low that he would regularly have seizures at the table. Like, they knew about this guy. This was a regular thing he did on a daily, or maybe not daily basis, but on at least a weekly basis. The pit boss managers, they knew this. And instead of getting him like medical help, like, I don't know, calling 911 or getting a paramedic or something like that, they just brought him a glass of orange juice so he could spike up his sugar levels, because he's been playing so long and his blood sugar levels were way too low. And I was like, this is like the craziest thing I've ever seen, because not only did the guy accept the orange juice, he drank the whole thing and he continued playing right after having a seizure right at the table. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. Like, who in their right mind would do something like this? Like, isn't that a signal or a tell where your body is letting you know, like, you haven't ate, you probably haven't drank anything, right? If your blood sugar levels are that low. But instead, that compulsion, that need, that desire to want to keep gambling and keep going is so strong that some of these people could even play through things like having a seizure at the table. And I'll never forget this guy, because I became immune to him eventually, because I started seeing him on a daily basis, and people would just, you know, call him the seizure guy, whereas I always remembered him as the orange juice guy. You know, he'd have a seizure, he'd give him his orange juice, and he'd be good to go. Like, thinking about that now, it still blows my mind how deep gambling addiction can run in some people. It grabs a hold of you and it almost sucks you dry. You know, it sucks your life dry. It just kills you on the inside, because you are entrapped by your compulsions and your addictions. And this guy, he just wanted to keep betting so bad that even after a seizure, he would just take a glass of orange juice and keep going. So I think that's my crazy poker story, crazy poker gambling story for today. And hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.